Good evening and welcome to FTB Sports. And I have a wonderful guest today, Ali, who is from the Holmesdale Road end of Crystal Palace. And let me explain how I know Ali. But first of all, FTB Sport. If you like the show, please share it. Share it amongst your friends. Share us on Facebook, share us on Twitter, share us on YouTube, and definitely hit that like button on YouTube. And hope you enjoy. So how did I, a passionate Man City fan, end up screaming and shouting at the Holmesdale and at Crystal Palace? Well, I was born in Manchester in the tough area Wythenshawe, and you had to be blue or red to kind of survive. And I picked blue back in the late 60s, early 70s for my sins. And as a little kid in the playground, got my Rodney and Marsh shirt and all that sort of jazz. And merrily, as a City fan, I was subject to much pain for many, many decades. And then it finally came good when, one of the richest guys on the planet decides that those supporters need honouring. So fantastic. I moved to London about 15 years ago and, I kept following City away matches, home matches where I could. And then I met a pal of mine, Ed, who persuaded me to go and watch Palace. And I bloody loved it. It reminded me of all the good old days on the Kippax, because at the Holmesdale Road end, everybody stands, everybody sings. You've got the ultras just in front of you with a megaphone. The noise is sensational. You even kick off the game with an eagle flying between the goalposts, but I think it's died. And these cheerleaders called the Crystals. And I have to say, I love the whole environment. Ali, Dave and Ed, we've drank many beers together. We've shouted, we've yelled, we've charged around the ground. It's been a ball, and I will undoubtedly keep my season ticket at Palace forever, I hope. And cheer on Palace. It does seem like having a girl on the side when you've been married for so many years, but what the heck. So for tonight, I am going to put my Palace shirt on when I talk to Ali, because lots of things have been happening at the club. This is actually an old Victor Moses shirt from back in the day when he was a nipper at Palace. We forget about all the wonderful players who've been to Palace, like Mr. Southgate and Ian Wright and Victor Moses and all those sort of wonderful players. Bright. And who's that other guy that we sing? Right, yeah, sing us the song. Go on.
Oh, I'm not much of a singer. I'm not going to sing for you, but okay. Thank you very much for having me today.
Okay, Ali, welcome to the show. Welcome to FTV Sport. First of all, we've had 4 or 5 years of Roy Hodgson. Roy picks us up when Frank de Boer lost. You can fill in all the gory details at 10 or 11 games on the trot or whatever it was. And then Roy saved the club, playing really well-regimented football. And I think you'd be the first to admit, not pretty sometimes, and 1-0 right. And we're all happy. Really well-disciplined, a gentleman of the game, super experienced. And we always knew it would be a vulnerable moment appointing a new manager, and particularly with lots and lots of players out of contract. So, it's not as quite as funny as Spurs, but, we've approached a lot of managers. A lot of managers have kind of said, got any money? We go, no. Got a lot of players out of contract? Yeah. And they go, perhaps not for us. But thank you very much. Patrick Vieira, Ali, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's an exciting prospect. Obviously, as you say, we've had 4 or 5 years of very stable Premier League football with Roy Hodgson. As you say, not been pretty a lot of the time, but we've had good games. We've obviously beaten Man City away. We've beaten Chelsea, United, haven't lost at Old Trafford in a while. But it just felt like 70% of the season was just missing, a bit of flair or excitement, or the opportunity when we were safe to experiment with some younger players, or, different formation. Rather than the regimented 4-4-2 that we've been, used to for all this time. And, it works and it keeps you in the league, but it just felt like, as you say, when you come to a time where, players are out of contract and that, the club's been crying out for a rebuild for a while, to get in a fresh face that's going to, do that experimentation and, bring through the youth players. And obviously since we've, developed a Category 1 status now for our academy, and there's, so many young players in the area, that with the potential, it felt like getting a manager was, crucial, that was going to bring through those young players. Obviously being South London, there's the likes of Smith Rowe, Jadon Sancho, Loftus-Cheek as well, that, that we would have missed out on going to a different academy to a better academy as they did. Whereas now, we have the likes of people like David Omalabu coming through, who's 18, that's going to, be a really important part of our future, I think. I think Vieira is a really good appointment for that. Obviously, it's very early to say. We've not seen him manage a game yet. Obviously, the first one's tomorrow against Warsaw, so it'll be interesting to see, what his in-game management style is like, just to, experiment. Does he stick with the same formation throughout, or is he open to change? But yeah, I think, 99% of Palace fans will say that it is an exciting prospect. It's someone that's done well at previous jobs. Obviously, I know that he was let go by Nice for losing a fair few games on the trot, but he got into a European spot the season before. That's something that they hadn't had for a while. So I'm excited, and I think most Palace fans will agree.
Good. I've got to play this little message in from Gemma. She's referred to you as a side chick, Ali. So I can only imagine that you've hit a chord with Gemma back there. It's meant to be sidekick, I think, Gem, but side chick. He's well happy about that.
Yeah.
And Tony in there saying, "Good evening. Obviously, as a Gooner, I'm looking forward to see how Patrick Vieira fares for Palace." So that's an interesting one, because we may have quite a lot of Arsenal fans, even Man City fans, kind of having a look. French, a lot of French football fans all over France. Hopefully, he will have lots of contacts and bring us talent that he's seen across France. Knows well at Arsenal, knows well in the ranks at City. It's not a bad pull, that.
No, absolutely. And I don't know if you've seen the news today that we've brought in the development coach from PSG. I
hadn't seen that. No, I hadn't. Go on.
Yeah, so he's been there for 5 years. Saeed, I'll butcher his surname after spending 5 years at PSG, and I think it's exactly what we need. And there's no criticism to Roy. Obviously, he brought Wan-Bissaka through, but I feel like that was out of we didn't have an option. There was no one. He had a space to fill, so he had to. Whereas Saeed, what he does basically is he builds the players in the under-23s and sort of prepares them for what life is like in the Premier League. And I think, given how difficult the division is, it's probably arguably the most difficult league in the world. And so we need someone that's going to bring through these youth players and give them an understanding of what it's like. And just looking at his catalogue of players that he's developed for PSG, people like Presnel Kimpembe, who's probably the first choice centre back for France now. So it's a really exciting time to get someone that's going to give these young players the right mentality before they even get going with the first team.
Good. So we had a lot of players out of contract. Yeah, you might want to walk them through for people who are watching. Yeah. Who are you passionate about keeping, and who are you not bothered about leaving? Can I just clarify something? Unfortunately, Gemma wasn't referring to you. I misinterpreted that comment. She likes my shirt, Gemma. It is a bit of a good shirt, isn't it?
It's a classic,
bit on the side. So go on, Ali. Tell us about.
So we had, I think, 9 or 10 players out of contract. And to be fair, I was happy to see some of them go, just because of the wages that they're on. There's some real high earners in there. No, I will not.
Keep going. Don't let them distract you.
Sorry, yeah. So there was obviously 2 goalkeepers in there, in Wayne Hennessy and Stephen Henderson, that we have let go. And they were high earners. Connor Wickham as well, £70,000 a week. That's a lot of money for a striker that's been plagued by injuries. Who I was excited to keep, or eager to keep, obviously Benteke being one of them. We saw in the second half of the season, and a lot of other fans of other teams will say, well, yeah, he's got to the end of his contract, so he's going to play well to earn himself a new contract, and then he'll fall off. But I feel like, having watched Benteke for all these years, he's not really that kind of individual. I feel like he is someone that will play for the shirt. Obviously, we had a time where he was having offers from China and big money moves, but he wanted to stay in London and prove his point. So yeah, Benteke was one that I would like to keep. Ward, obviously, we know, signed yesterday, re-signed for another couple of years. That was important, I think. If anyone at the club at the moment deserves a testimonial, obviously I was there for the Julian Speroni one. I know you're not the biggest fan of Ward, but
I'm not.
He's a very good backup choice. It's low wages. He's been in the Premier League for us the entire time. He knows what he's doing. An interesting one for me will be to see if Patrick Van Aanholt gets another contract. His wages aren't ridiculous in terms of, Premier League. I think he's on about 55,000 pounds a week, which is not masses given, how much some of the Premier League players earn. And I think we are sort of desperate for a left back cover or someone that can fill in. Yeah. Obviously, we had Schlupp at the beginning covering left back, but I feel he's more of a midfield option now. So Tyreek Mitchell, who does, occasionally get injured, will need some cover. So there's a few.
It actually just crossed my mind. I mean, the 3 or 4 years I've been watching Palace or whatever with you has been the same time Roy's been there. And the level of injuries has just been astronomical. I wonder if Roy overtrains them. I wonder if there's something in that. I wonder if there's something in the training routine. I wonder if they overtrain them?
Potentially, yeah.
Have been incredible. And now Ezzy's out with an Achilles tendon. It's like, and Mitchell's never. Ferguson's never made an appearance, but that's not. You can't blame Roy for that. But I just wonder whether there's some kind of overtraining going on, or the technique, or the training grounds.
I was going to say, it could come down to the facilities. What Steve Parish was saying in an interview earlier in the week was that obviously when the academy facility is all set up, it's going to have all the luxuries that we don't currently have, like the pools and stuff like that for gym work, that sort of stuff. It's going to be a lot more up to date. So hopefully we'll see those injuries. Obviously, as you say, the injuries that we've had, they're never like 2 weeks out. No. They're like 4 months out. So.
Schlupp out for ages, or Sacco, was forever. Centre back.
That's another one. Yeah, I'm happy to see go as well.
I think in those 4 years or whatever I've been watching Palace, I'm not certain I saw the same 2 centre backs play for more than about 2 or 3 games together.
Yeah, it was missing that sort of coercion. And when we did see it, with the likes of Tompkins and Sacco together, and they made 4 games plus together, it was solid. But as you say, you start mixing it up, and it just goes a bit pear-shaped. So Sacco, another really high earner, one of 3 players over 100,000 a week. So a quality player that played with injuries. Scott down 70,000 a week.
Have you heard he's going anywhere?
So he's had a pre-agreement with Montpellier, I think it is. But there's some sort of personal issues that came to light that he's not really disclosed. But, I don't think he'll be a Crystal Palace player next year.
Yeah. Okay. Right, here's your chance. We've had some comments and you can bite back as hard as you want. Barbados MUFC has said, looking forward to reviews from Roy Keane when Palace get pumped 5-0 by Brighton. There's going to be a bit of a Vieira kickback from Keane. Anything you want to say to this Mr. Barbados MUFC or to Roy Keane?
Well, I mean, I'm hoping that the feud has died down now, given that he'll be in a professional setting in the Sky Sports team. But you never know, do you? He's always going to have something to say.
I bloody hate Roy Keane. He's my hate guy. After what he did with Anger Haaland, when he played for City, and then he actually went into his book and said he meant it. For a fellow pro to say that about a fellow pro, he meant to maim him. And now we're paying him to be on TV and listen to that animal's comments. No, I I really, my mission is to see Patrick Vieira, stick it to Roy Keane.
And I think he's of a professional nature where he won't let any sort of comments that Roy Keane makes.
How would you shout it from the stands then? We'll have to get up a chant.
Yeah, well, we sit next to the box, don't we, where they all sit? So we'll have to give him
a hate Roy Keane chant. This one's for Patrick or whatever. I'm certain.
But no, as you say, I think Vieira's a bit more. He's older now. He's a bit more wise. Like he's going to not let things get to him. Because I imagine there was lots. Because obviously, as you know, he's very active on Twitter, and I imagine he would have got lots of messages saying not fit to be in the Prem yet, needed more time. But he seems to have settled in really well. Having watched some of the training sessions, started to build his backroom staff now. Also, we've got Christian Wilson join us as a first team coach who looks chomping at the bit to be back.
Has Ray Lewington gone?
Yeah, Ray Lewington's gone with Roy, and there was one other first team coach as well that's gone. I can't remember who that was though.
I always wonder whether I don't imagine that Ray Lewington would have been easy on the training pitch, and I just wonder whether he was the whipping boy of overworking him on the training pitch.
It's impossible to say, isn't it? You just don't know. It'd be interesting to see what the training regime's like under Vieira. I know that the first day back it was strictly fitness. There was a lot of running just to get people, building it back up before the season starts, which is good to see. Obviously, we saw at the end of last season, players were fatiguing all over the place. As you say, Schlupp was picking up injuries just from, you imagine, lack of, behind the scenes stuff. MacArthur wasn't seeing
just rolled in the Crystal Girls, and he was injured by the time he got.
Well, as you say, a lot of the defenders weren't seeing out 90 minutes of football, and I miss that. I want players to want to stay on the pitch, play full 90 minutes, and give 110%. So. Yeah.
James, question from James: what will be the aim next season? Mid-table or avoid relegation through the rebuild? So that's
I know Mr. Richardson as well. He's a big Vieira enthusiast, being an Arsenal fan. So I think for me it will be avoiding relegation to begin with. I think that's only fair. I don't think there'll be too much pressure put on Vieira. Obviously, the signings that he's making and the caliber of players he's attracting is good, but it would be tough to say to come in and be like, right, we need to push for our highest ever finish. There's a lot of good teams in the league. I do think there are 3 worse teams in the teams that have come up. That's no disrespect, but I just think that with the players that they have and the structures of the teams, I think we will avoid relegation, but that should be considered our aim to begin with.
Do you think we can see off Watford?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they're terrible. I'm going straight back down.
Evening, Rossa. Rossa says hello. My mate from Spain. She's actually in Madrid. Hello, Rossa. And actually, I'm starting to like Mr. Provoked Orifice now. Andros, as you know, all on the toes, etc. Andros has been one of my favourite players. He has such a good football brain. He's not the quickest in the world, but he can turn a game. He can think really well. I've always wanted him to play a bit more inside, maybe at number 10, let a bit of pace on the wings. You can answer this, Ali, because you know about money. Why did you let go of club legend Andros?
I think the age thing has to come into it. Obviously, it's his birthday today, so I don't want to talk ill of him, but he's 30 today. Okay. I just feel like any
Ward's 31.
Yeah, but it's different for a defender to an attacking player. Obviously, the work rates that Andros showed, I can't argue with it. It was perfect. And he guided Wan-Bissaka, and I feel like into the player that he was with the cover that he was offering. And as you say, I would love to see him in a 10 role, but you must have recognised towards the last year or so, and I think Andros probably said it himself, that his finishing wasn't as good as it used to be. He probably wanted to score more goals, get more assists. I agree with you. He's perfect for crossing the ball onto Benteke, which we missed hugely last year. But we're signing a player like Michael Olise, who averages 7 crosses a game now. He's going to be perfect for Benteke's game. He was the highest teenager, so that with the most goals and assists as a teenager in the top 4 leagues last year.
Does he play left or right side?
Doesn't matter, left, centre or right. He can play anywhere across that front 3.
When Ezzy's back, to have him on the right and Ezzy on the left with Wilf slightly inside, that will be
it's going to cause no end.
Certainly be a good breaking team.
And it'll take you back to when Balassi played for us, when Wilf was on the left and Balassi was on the right, and they switched mid-game and they just terrify defenders by cutting inside or going around, overlapping. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for with Olise, really.
Cool. Some more questions coming in. Tony again saying, I see Palace are interested in West Ham's Issa Diop. He's good. That will be a top sign for the Eagles. Have you heard that? I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, I did hear that today. Obviously, they were quoting sort of 50 million for him a season ago when he was flying, and now they're looking more about 20 million, which I think is reasonable for us. He's got Prem experience. We do need cover at centre back. I agree. So I think it would be a good signing. It will come down again to wages. He's a West Ham player, so I imagine they threw money at him when he joined up. Would he take a cut to join us? Would he miss out on? I don't even know where they fit it. The Europa football next year. Would he miss out on that to come play for us? Obviously, he would get a lot more regular minutes for us than he would for West Ham, because he would be one of our better centre backs. But I don't know. It's a bit of a gamble, I think, for him.
Cool. Another question from Gemma. Being such an amazing pass player, which, to be fair, Roy has got everything, but not being a pass player, do you feel Vieira will get some passion into the dressing room?
Yes, I think so. He's always, stated that he's firm but fair. I think if the players aren't pulling their weight, he'll have no issue in sort of calling them out on it, dragging players off, which Roy, I think, was hesitant to do so. Obviously, Zaha's #1 fan, but there is the occasion where he has a bad game, and he just doesn't get into it. Either he's being, blocked out by, tripled up on by defenders or whatever, and he just can't get into it. And we need something different. And we know that he, is not afraid to have a moan at the referee. Other players, there could have been times where we took off Wilf for someone like Andros, someone like Mateta, there were chances to replace him, and Roy was too afraid to do so, and he would just make the same subs. He'd take off MacArthur for McCarthy, he'd take off Luca for Riedewald, something like that, and keep it too stagnant. So I do think the players will want to play for Vieira, and I think they will be, eager to learn under him, but they should be wary that, he is a firm character. So
there'll be, particularly from those young players, there'll be some awe and respect as soon as he walks in, and he's a big, commanding guy. Roy Cropper, he's got a night off from Coronation Street. He's given Haley a rest for the night. Do you think Palace will do a Fulham next season after a big spend up? I don't see a big spend up myself.
I can't see a massive spend. I think if we're talking money, and I'll go into the nitty gritty of it, then we're sitting still on Wan-Bissaka money. I think our net spend for 4 years is about -5 mil. Obviously, the Eze money will probably just tickle that over, but not by much, given the instalments that the payments were made for Wan-Bissaka. So I can see us spending more than we have done, in the last 5-6 years. But I can't see
there's some big wages off the books as well. Because not just
amounts of wages,
the cash flow on a week-to-week basis, and with the likes of Sacco off the books, that's surely going to.
When you think about Sacco, so he's 105 grand a week. And you think about someone like Michael Elise, who's coming from Reading, where it would have been 5,000 to 15,000 maybe a week. So that's already a massive cut. And we signed him for £8 million.
25% or maybe a third at tops of Sacco's salary. That's interesting. Mr. Provoked, I'm going to call him. I think he's referring to Andros. Doesn't look a day over 18. Well, that was the hair transplant. Don't you remember? Seasons ago, he'd used that wash and go, and it had gone. And then, it all sprung back.
It did, yeah. And, I think, he's doing his coaching badge as Andros. He knows that, if his next move is an important one and he needs minutes and whatnot, otherwise, he's teetering on, coming out of the game. But as you say, he did offer flashes of brilliance, but I just don't think he features under Vieira's plans at the moment.
I wonder where he'll go. Anyway, another good one from James here. How do you feel about the potential Nikita? Is that the right pronunciation?
Nketiah from Arsenal.
Nketiah signed. Yeah, he was on loan at Leeds in the Championship. Is that right?
Yeah.
He did really well there, but couldn't. Well, hey, he did have a couple of superstars in front of him at Arsenal. Didn't always perform, Mr. Aubameyang and who's the other guy up front? Yeah, but what do you think?
It's an exciting one if it does come off. I think the prices being quoted are a bit far-fetched at the moment, but hopefully a deal can be struck. They're looking for 20 to 25 million, and I think our initial bid was sort of 10 to 12, something like that. Just given his rotation status and the fact that he's not going to be a front runner. He's proven in the Prem. He scored goals in the Premiership. Do I think we need another striker at the moment? Do I think it's the priority? Probably not. I think we've got a good striker in Benteke, a good backup in Wilf, Mateta as well. I think our loan signing will probably be a striker as well.
Is he staying? Is that a second season we've got Mateta for?
It was 18 months, so he signed in the January. And we've got him for a full year.
Has he impressed you at all since he's been on loan, though?
The Brighton goal was a bit good, a little back heel.
Yeah, okay. Facing the wrong way, but so maybe he's good going from the eyes in the back of his head. But I
just think he needs a chance. As you say, Roy would bring him on in the 75th minute, and I expect him to change a game, having never played in the Prem before. He just needs a bit of time, I think. So, I think striker's probably not the priority. If we did get Nketiah, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think he's a very good player. But I think that won't be the priority at the moment. I think we need to sort out the defence, a few more midfielders. I think maybe a winger if Andros is not signing back up again, and then maybe use the loan signing as a striker.
Just say evening, Charles. But finish off on the Palace, and then we'll talk about some general transfers, Ali. Where are the gaps? Where are the priorities? If we sign another, or you can tell me, how many players do you think we need to sign, and what would be your priority of position?
I was speaking to Yeah, I was speaking to Carl on Twitter the other day, and I said I think it'll be 5 to 6 more, including loans and re-signing of players. I said I think Van Aanholt will re-sign, given his wages, his age, and the fact that we needed a backup left back. A transfer that gets me very excited would be Ainsley Maitland-Niles from Arsenal. Obviously,
Hey, I've been talking about him for 18 months coming to Palace, remember?
Yeah.
Such a utility player that can inject an engine into midfield. I'm a big fan. He's not so good at driving, though, is he?
Not very good at driving, no.
He wrecked that car the other day.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did total it on the M4. Yeah. Same as Papaswari did. Same road and same car.
Oh, yeah.
Fun fact for him.
Wow.
But yeah, obviously he'd been playing as a right back, left back cover at Arsenal, and I think his heart is set on playing as a central midfielder. And if there was ever a chance that a manager has pulling power, an Arsenal legend in Vieira to bring him in as a centre mid where he played, I think we stand a real chance.
60% of Patrick Vieira and emulates him in midfield. The guy will be a superstar. What nationality is he?
English. And he's a very good penalty taker as well.
That always helps. I'm just thinking about his prospects in that position in midfield. So he'd play central midfield as opposed to defensive midfielder. Yeah.
I think more of a box-to-box,
Yeah, a strident, a Vieira type player. That's interesting. Anyone, go on, keep going.
Another one potentially, obviously, Conor Gallagher, who obviously started as West Brom's main centre mid last year from Chelsea. Obviously, he's expressed an interest in staying with Chelsea and proving a point, but I just feel under Tuchel, having not seen him play before, there is the potential to get him on loan, which I think would be good. Very similar to Maitland-Niles, very physical, box-to-box, very good at passing the ball. I would like to see us bring in another centre-back, if obviously the news is true that Mark Guay did his medical yesterday and we are getting him from Chelsea. Right. I still would like one more as cover, because obviously at the moment we've just got Tompkins and Kelly, which, set the world on fire. So if we got Gay as well,
I'd wave those two goodbye. But I know you feel differently. But my criticism there is, I like Awita as well as a shot stopper. Is I've consistently said there is no injection of energy from the back. The game doesn't start. The modern game doesn't start at Palace in the back four. They're a defensive back four. They don't start the attacking motion.
Well, Mark Guay is probably going to be perfect for you because he is very much bringing it out from the back, playing through the lines, playing the passes, very physical. Still so young.
Cahill used to be able to, and absolutely on his purple day, Sacco could do it. But I've always felt we were, really short in that area.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to sound like a dork, but Tony's again said AMN would be fantastic for you.
Ainsley Maitland-Niles.
Oh, that's Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Oh, what a plonker in. A plonker, live plonker. Well, never mind. Okay. Any other positions there? Yeah.
I would like to see one more winger. I think, as you say, if Townsend's leaving, if not, then I would like to see some of the youth players get given a go. Obviously, we saw Rak-Saki on the bench a few times last year. Still so young, but such a positive player. If Vieira can mould him into, a Pires of old or something like that, someone with Theo Walcott of old, someone with pace that's not afraid to run at defenders, but also cut back inside and play the passes, which I do see him as, having watched a few sort of under 23s and under 18s games last year. But I do feel like a winger, someone like Mateus Pereira from West Brom, who you'll remember got sent off for kicking Van Aanholt against us last year, but still was probably one of the, if not the top goal scorer for West Brom. Very proven, probably could get him on a good price, and would provide, excellent cover, or, at least pushing our wingers into, keeping their first team spot. Because it felt like last year, you couldn't get Zaha and Townsend off, really. It was them or no one. Schlatt was focused more as a centre mid. So, a winger, a defender, two centre mids, and then retain Van Aanholt and Cahill would be mine.
Good. I tell you what, Ali, I so respect your football brain. Your knowledge is phenomenal. For those watching, like us, share us, and just for that, Ali could probably talk this sort of knowledge in pretty much any club in the UK and the French first and second divisions, Italy pretty well, pretty much across the globe. FTB Sport actually have a quite a challenge online quiz that they do through YouTube. I must link you up because I reckon you could take it. I just want your views on some of the big transfers out there in general. Sancho to United, that's pretty much done and dusted.
I know.
And nobody's worth that amount of money, but he is quite good, isn't he?
He's a bit good. He's a very special player. And I think he fits their mould perfectly, which is quite annoying. I think the revolution that they're building, obviously the young players, Wan-Bissaka is going to be on the same wing as him now. They're both from, within spitting distance of each other growing up. They know each other quite well.
Yeah.
They do need to get rid of some of their deadwood United. I think Martial's run his race. I don't think he's on to much cop anymore. But if they get, well, the word on the street is that they're going to be getting Rafael Varane as well from Real Madrid.
Oh, yeah, that was my next one. The three they're linked with, obviously Sancho looks like a done deal. Varane, I think they've agreed personal terms, but they've yet to agree a transfer. And then there's Trippier, who it's like I think he wants to join United more than United want him to join. What's your thoughts?
Depends, yeah. Obviously, he won the league for them at Madrid last year. He didn't win it for them, but he was part of it. He was an incremental part of the squad. And I think a warrior, yeah. He's quality at set pieces. Obviously, they've got someone in Bruno Fernandes that can take set pieces in Paul Pogba. But what cover to have for right back and left back? If Luke Shaw or Wan-Bissaka ever get injured, he can fit in either side, which would be perfect. And then if you're looking at Maguire and Varane in the middle as well, it's a terrifying defence to think about. Really, I stand by my statement that Wan-Bissaka is probably the best one-on-one defender in the world. I'm happy to argue that with anyone. Obviously, he needs to work on his game going forward.
Fans are going to love you for that.
He needs to work on his game going forward, but now he's got Jadon Sancho in front of him. All he has to do is stay in his own half and pass it to Jadon, and then he can do the rest. So, yeah, that's, as you say, no one is really worth that amount of money, but he is very young. His wages won't be ridiculous, given that he's coming from the German league, where they famously don't pay, massive amounts of money. Not that they ever have to worry about that, because the shirt sales alone from Man United cover pretty much the transfer. It certainly did for Paul Pogba. So
moving across to Moneybags Chelsea, and I'm saying that actually with respect to Chelsea, because having moved Hazard on and a whole variety of young players, and they've got a lot in the bank just from that. Obviously, they got a touch more than 6 from the bloody Champions League into the bank, and then they have Mr. Abramovich's pockets as well. So actually, if they went out and spent 100, 150 million, it kind of wouldn't surprise me, because they
no, it wouldn't.
Will they, in your view, get Haaland? They were relinked with Lukaku. That sounds like a bit weird to me. What's your thoughts there for Chelsea? Because they were.
I don't think they get either.
At the end of last season.
Yeah, no, I don't think they get either. I think Haaland will stay at Dortmund for at least another year, just to really prove his value, because it's not like he's just had one good season. He's set records every time he's played. So I do think he'll stay there one more year. The fact that they're selling us Mark Guay and they've sold Fikayo Tomori to AC Milan, it feels to me, and this is no offense to Chelsea fans, but it feels like the board always want to, sell their exciting young players. There's word of Hudson-Odoi leaving as well, who I think is, an unbelievable talent. It feels like the Chelsea board always want to sell, homegrown, good, well-rounded players to make their fans happy and sign one big player. And then it gives them a chance to complain when that person doesn't come off, like Timo Werner. All credit to him. He's a wonderful finisher. I've seen him in, for Leipzig, scoring goals for fun. It's not really happened.
He works incredibly hard.
He works incredibly hard. He's got a very good touch.
He's got to discipline himself to get on side more, and he's got to start to get a pattern in front of goal.
He does, and I think it will happen for him this year with the likes of Havertz behind him. Obviously, they'll have been together for a year. Then Mason Mount's coming off of. So I don't know. I just feel like the board at Chelsea always just make drastic signings to try and appease their fan base, when actually they've got such good youth prospects. Just they should be developing those and working with that. So that's
good, man. Quick question from James. This is a hypothetical one because we ain't got the money. If you had 50 million budget, who would you sign this season?
Well, given who we've already signed, I'd say, Mark Guay. I'm going to go lowball and say that he's signed on for 15 mil, and then Elise for 8. So that's 23. So that gives me half left. I'd try and get Maitland-Niles for 15.
Yeah, I like him.
and then I'd try and get lowball West Brom for Pereira for 10, 15, something like that. Just see if we can get that in, and then focus on the loans and use some wages there. My maths isn't very good, but yeah, and
we got some real goalkeeping talent now as well.
And Remy Matthews, unbelievable.
Yeah, we got three. I mean,
got three now. Yeah, so we got rid of the Deadwood in Wayne Hennessy, who's gone to Burnley today, I think, which is the most Burnley signing I've ever seen. Last ever touch of a Palace ball was when he fired over in the FA Cup. Was it Carling Cup in the penalty shootout?
It was a penalty 12 or 11 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he's gone and Henderson's gone. Obviously, Giatta is, impossible to budge, I think, is the first choice. Butland showed promise in the last couple of games of the season.
He's a great goalkeeper. I mean,
very good, still young, signed him for a really good fee, and I think about 600,000 when we've been quoted 24 million 2 seasons ago. And then Remy Matthews coming in from, he's ex-Sunderland, he's ex-Birmingham, Norwich he grew up in. I've seen a few of his games. He's a good third choice. Obviously, we didn't see much of Henderson, but he's good. We needed a young keeper in that was going to, really encourage the top two to keep their positions, as the 1 and 2. So I think, I'm happy with that cover.
Great. Cheers, Ali. Coming towards the end of the show, I'll ask you to wrap up in a minute. Tony's comments, he says, "There's been a fantastic show. Brilliant to have Crystal Palace perspective on the FTB channel. Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Ali. Don't thank me. Ali's the man with 5 brains when it comes to Palace and all things football. But it doesn't show as much. Guys like it, etc. Ali's about 6'7", aren't you?
6'5", 6'6", yeah.
6'6", and stands next to me, about 5'5", 5'6", maybe 5'6" in me Doc Martens or whatever on the stands. But yeah, it is. I think Ali's seat is right in front of mine, and Ali's still taller than me, even though he's a step below. It's good. No, and I love the games, and I love your knowledge and the banter we have at the games with Ed and Dave. It's the awesome, and then we hop out and we eat Palace pies that are it's old school football. Great chants, great songs, incredible energy, great beer back at house, Palace Ale by Neil Morrissey, from Men Behaving Badly and all that. He's a Crystal Palace fan, makes the beer. And I don't know, maybe his mum makes the pies, but someone good makes the pies there. But a great evening. And if anyone else out there wants a trip down Palace next season, be delighted. Let's get a ticket online somehow, and we'll smuggle you into the seats near us. And I promise you, whatever team you support, you'll have an incredibly good time. The energy, it's missing. It's missing. It's been lost back in the 90s, I think, in most clubs.
Standing to get back there, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Be awesome. And clubs don't like coming to Palace because it is noisy and it is aggressive, and the fans are super passionate and in your face. And I actually think it's interesting that maybe Palace suffered more than most not having fans in the ground. Those types of grounds like Palace, Everton, etc. I think
I'd say even someone like West Ham, because the stadium's so big.
Liverpool as well, to be fair, as well, and United. So anyway, thank you, sir. Here's to the next season. Here's to the Selhurst. Here's to the Homesdale end. Here's to the new team, new manager, new dawn. It's super exciting.
It is.
Come back and join us. Get the guys together. I was thinking about maybe even having a once a week session, just talking about the game for FTB Sport afterwards, or we can have a good natter and everyone else can enjoy the conversation. Stay on the line, Ali. We're going to finish the evening. Stay on the line there. Good evening. Thank you. Enjoy your Friday night. If you liked us, please do share us. Please do tell your pals. If you know anyone out there who's a Crystal Palace fan, get them in contact with us. Thank you.